Horror Lies.
Hey guys, this is Rob from Georgia here with you. I'm your Wednesday night host at BodyBags. It is week 317. It is theme week. It is horror documentary week. And so this week, I bring you from 2015, Calum Waddell's horror documentary entitled 42nd Street Memories, The Rise and Fall of America's Most Notorious Street. And this can be found, of course, among many places probably, on my copy of Anthropophagous. This is the 88 films release of this film. And really, this documentary really just, as you can see behind me, and you'll get some images of what 42nd Street was like. And the reason why I chose this, among all the zillions and zillions of documentaries, right? The reason why I chose this is because back in 1986, and I was about like 16, I walked down this street. And so it was like right before the great cleanup, right? I think where it was already moving towards that direction. And so, trying to make it more family friendly. But I think this is really early 90s, mid 90s that they really do this total renovation of this street as it was known. But I walked out, and it was one of the coolest memories as a kid. I think we were there 86. It must have been the 200th birthday celebration, anniversary, whatever, of the Statue of Liberty. Pretty sure it was 86. It might have been, it was right around there somewhere, I guess. But anyways, one of the coolest things ever, walking down 42nd Street, and my parents are starting to get ahead of me, and I'm just kind of getting lost, in all the movie theaters and stuff and things and posters and in windows. And all of a sudden I stop and I see this movie theater. I can't remember what it was called. It's so long ago. But all I know is I'm looking at the, I guess you call it the running bills or whatever for that night. And they literally were playing horror films 24/7 for all intents and purposes. It was a constant flow of horror. And I stood there, my mouth probably was gaped open. I could not understand what I was seeing. A movie theater that ran horror films basically 24/7. And it took a while. My parents finally realized I wasn't walking with them, and they turned around and started coming back and found me. And unfortunately, I did not get a chance to go in there and watch anything, but just to see it. And so seeing this, brings back some memories of having walked down there and seeing a little bit of this, I think. But really what we have here is the history, and it predates the Great Depression, when most of these places were playhouses, right? Really classy places. But once the Depression kicked in, and these businesses, they lost their properties, once the Depression passed, new entrepreneurs came in and picked up all these properties, and they basically turned everything, or a lot of these playhouses, these old, really relics of the past, they turned them into film houses. And, initially it was classic film, but then as the 60s and the 70s settled in, exploitation films kicked in to gear, and then, of course, horror by the late 70s, mid-late 70s into the probably early 80s, you started running a constant flow of horror films as well. And so really what you have here is a collection of some characters like Dante, Larry Cohen, Lloyd Kaufman, Henenlotter, Tom Holland, William Lustig, Anthony Timpone. I mean, these are just some of the people that are commenting. You'll see a few of them as they pass by as they're commenting. Just commenting their experiences and their memories of 42nd Street and what it meant to them. And you get a few guys who literally spent at least a chunk of their life there, and their memories of going into these theaters. Now, we're talking everything from drugs to sex to violence to the homeless finding a place to stay in these theaters. And it was, I think the running theme of this documentary was really the experience. To be on the street and to go into any one of these theaters, it was an experience, and sometimes not very good experiences depending on which theater at what time. And it could be very bad experiences, in fact. But then again, it could be really great. I don't have no bad memories. Now, I was only there visiting one day, and probably just been an hour or so walking down the street. But these are people that spend an awful lot of time there. And so it's interesting, just to kind of, I think for me personally too, is this to kind of get that history, but to know that one of the death knells of 42nd Street was the advent of the VHS industry that was kicking into gear. People didn't have a reason really so much to go to the theater as much anymore. They could stay home and watch their exploitation, I can't even say that word, exploitation films and whatnot. They could stay home in the privacy of their home and watch these things. And so really, I'm a child, really, I think of, getting a little piece of this era, the drive-in circuit era, and this idea of going out and seeing things, right? But I also got to see the VHS industry kick into gear. And so by the 80s, I'm 10 years old, working through my teenage years, getting used to video stores and whatnot, rental stores. And so, in a way, it's bittersweet in a way. I mean, I have the memories of going, with my parents to the drive-in, but at the same time, going into the video stores as a young kid, I wasn't missing 42nd Street. Not that I would anyways, because I didn't live in New York City, but the idea of it is so cool to revisit. And so some of my own personal recollections of 42nd Street, having been there. One of the things that came out in this documentary was, I think they said, what was it? Q, The Winged Serpent, was one of the biggest hits ever to play on 42nd Street as a horror film. Larry Cohen, right? And of course, you would have seen Cannibal Holocaust, all the cannibal films, Cannibal Ferox, Combat Shock gets mentioned, and there's a lot of stuff. This documentary, again, I think I said it, runs an hour and 22 minutes, so it's a pretty lengthy documentary, and they talk a lot about just the entire history, the scope that is 42nd Street. And in the end, of course, Rudy Giuliani comes in as mayor, promises to clean up the city. He does, and among those things cleaned up is 42nd Street. And what I didn't know or realize was that the executioner, isn't that the executioner? Was that Disney's part in this, in the cleanup? I had no idea, and so that was interesting to take in and watch. So if you by chance have this 88 films copy of Anthropophagous, you have this documentary. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. It may be on other films, I'm not sure. I've tried to just search it up by itself, and I don't think it has a release on its own. You have to find it. But man, what a just a nostalgia, and just seeing these things and hearing these guys and gals recollect their memories. It's really cool, and so I'm glad I chose this one. This was a neat one to kind of watch a few times, soak up, think about it, and it's one I'm sure I'll revisit again. But you're kind of getting a small little visual as I kind of talk through it. So I think that's pretty much my spiel, my review. It's great. It is so much fun to kind of take in, and it's just a piece of history. It's a piece of history, and unfortunately, that history, for all intents and purposes, is gone. And for us, of course, today, for those of us watching this review today, we're all but in the video on the video on demand, digital streaming, racking up movies in iClouds and whatnot, and red boxes, and we're far removed from what was, and it's a shame in a way. And so I think that's why some of us as collectors are building up our memories and visually into the rooms, theaters, the mini theaters some of us have, the video collections. It's just reclaiming that which was lost, and that's why physical media is so gosh darn important. So anyways, Rob from Georgia again. This is week 317. This is theme week. It is horror documentary. I'm so stoked to check out what the rest of the guys were up to this week, and I'm sure it's just going to be an awesome week. So keep plugging away, keep checking us out, and we all of us appreciate the views and just the time you spend in your very busy schedule just to spend a few minutes and check out those things that we're doing. We love it. We love doing this kind of stuff, right? And it helps that we have someone there to kind of bounce off these thoughts off of. And so, anyways, enjoy the rest of your week. We're halfway there. We're almost to Friday, and the weekend, right? So, as always, my Bills are 3-3 and stinking. Oh, how about that? So, yes, up next the Patriots. So, as always, we end these things off with go